Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk, Season 7, Episode 5. My name is Pawel the Cat, with my very kind co-host.
Kind. So is that you putting the word out? Be kind. Be gentle. This is hockey, baby. This isn't baseball. There's no kindness. No, I'm joking, man. Hey, it's great to be back. So I see that you actually have Wi-Fi connection last week.
Yes.
So hopefully you don't.
This week. Last week was a little bit of technical difficulties. It's like when you don't sharpen your skates before you get on the ice.
It was all over. So, hey, guys, so just want to remind you, every Wednesday night, join us right here. You can follow Pawel on X at hockey_2. You can follow me at Renaerts. Catch up and all the latest and the greatest all around different areas of hockey around the globe. Glad to have you with us here tonight. Make sure you go to our Facebook or our YouTube channel. Follow, like, subscribe, easiest way, or just go right to our website. Great to have Flow Hockey with us this year. Puckpedia is back again, as well as the Pro Scouting Group. That's with Jason Bakula. So we're glad to be working with them this year for some segments, as well as we're going to have Goaltender Nation with Jaydlin Spooner, formerly of the Lancers, out in Ontario. So this will be some good episodes coming up. But last week, we tried to get him on, but the truth is, this man is so much in demand. If it's not hockey world or sports, it's his family. And guys, we just want to give you tonight's segment. So let's go tonight to our guest headliner. Guest headliner, brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show.
Hey, everyone. Aloha, mahalo. Thanks for having me on, man. I love coming on the show. You know why? Your intro is absolutely killer. And you know what? You can just keep playing it. I like the pinging at the end of the bar. What's that, bar down? It's like the Konechny. That's a Konechny, perfect Konechny shot, bar down. Actually, that's the Zegers Mitchkov, the crossbar, game that they're playing, So, yeah, man.
Jamie, man, it's great to have you back this week. And guys, if you don't know, he writes for the Flyers, does some fandom writing too with Flyers Nitty Gritty. Credential sports writer, is out of Philadelphia. He is all things sportsman there. But guess what, guys? It's hockey season. And so he does not leave. You are like a dog on a bone. So we got some good questions for you here today. And I'm ready to start, Pawel, if you are.
Oh, yes, for sure. So welcome, Jamie, to the show. Welcome back. We're going to first start, where's your fandom at for the start of the season? I know the Philadelphia Flyers face off against Florida tomorrow, so a little bit later of a start. But where are your thoughts on overall this season, going into the season, and especially looking at Michkov?
I'm going to be honest. I'm a little worried about this season. I think there'll be a playoff bubble team again. The one thing that's killer about the Flyers this year is the Olympic break. They usually don't, like most teams, but the Flyers in particular, I'll speak on, don't do well after breaks like that. And I think that could be an Achilles heel for the second half of the season there. And this first month of the season is just a juggernaut. And it's imperative for the Flyers to get off to a hot start, although it's a juggernaut. So, I'm a little terrified, about the start of the season. The first month is just like playoff team after playoff team. It's like they don't get a break at all. You know what I mean? And, starts off right with the defending champs, and who had a beautiful win last night. It looks like they missed Barkov. Yes, they missed Matthew Tkachuk, but it just shows the depth of that team and the great goaltending that they have. And Sergei Bobrovsky he's a phenomenal goaltender, former Flyer. Didn't want him traded, but I'm happy. Tomorrow's like opening day. It's like, Christmas morning, right? You wake up, you're happy, you're overjoyed. And then you realize, we're playing the defending champs. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, what a heck of a start that is. Yeah, nothing tough about that, right? So, and then you're like, don't worry. They don't play until Saturday. And then you look at the schedule and it's like, the Carolina Hurricanes. A cup contender. Wow, okay. So why not play two cup contenders back to back, right? And then you go to Monday and it's like, another playoff team. And then you look at Thursday and another playoff team. So it's like, you know what I mean? But all in all, I think they're going to be a little better than last year, but I'm not expecting anything earth-shattering by any means. You know what I mean? I see them being like a playoff bubble team. I don't think they'll be a lottery team anymore, this season. And it's because of what you just said. Matvei Michkov, the guy's going to be killer. 35 goals this year. I'm looking at about 44 assists. I'm looking at about 79 points for Michkov. But there's one player that people need to talk about, and that's Travis Konechny, because I think he's going to pop 44 goals this year. Oh. I think that dude is killer. He's so underappreciated in the city of Philadelphia. WIP had their top 10 athletes in the city of Philly, and I think he should be right there with it. Yes, the Flyers haven't been that good for the past 5 years. They've missed the playoffs, but Travis Konechny has been good, and he's gotten better every single year. And if he just had a little bit of a better team, a little bit of better goaltending, we wouldn't be sitting here today. He'd be in the top 10. I just think the guy just does everything. He's balls to the wall. He's a leader on and off the ice. He's a phenomenal person. You get to know him. Great guy. He remembers everything. And he's a family man, too.
Awesome. And before we get to Evan's next question, we have Lost Trucker who's tuning in from Fraser Valley tonight. She wanted to know how many Flyers, and maybe that is Konechny or more, would rep at the Olympics. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say potentially, I know Russia's not going to be there, but would Russia consider Michkov even to come in at a training camp?
Yeah, I think they would, but obviously they won't participate. Again, I think it's a 16-year ban. I think isn't that what it is? I could be wrong. I think it's around that area. But the one thing about Michkov, I wonder if maybe another nation could possibly scoop him up. I don't know. The parameters around that. I don't know if they're allowed. And stuff. But I expect Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim to make it for Team Canada. Samuel Ersson is a shoo-in. And Rodrigo Abels has already been selected from Latvia. So I expect 4. From the Philadelphia Flyers. That's Ersson, Rodrigo Abels, Travis Konechny, and Travis Sanheim.
Wow, that's actually that's decent for a team that's just outside of the bubble there, though. So
Latvia is always good. You can't sleep on Latvia. That's one team. It's just like everyone's like, oh, they're playing Latvia, and then you play them, and it's like, oh, that wasn't an easy contest by any means. They were right there. If I'm not mistaken, at the Worlds, weren't they? They played pretty well. Latvia is a tough team, and Rodrigo Abels, I think he could play both ways. He could play center or wing. He's going to be a pretty intense player for the Latvian team.
Be pretty cool. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. You're talking about being a pretty tough team. There was a pretty tough coach, John Tortorella. You were a big supporter of John coming in. I like what he probably built in the work ethic and the hard work. You've gone on record and talked a little bit about the comments in your reporting about some of the comments that Sean Couturier has mentioned and said. Yep. But having said that, Rick Tocchet is now in. It was interesting. I thought, I could see Rick Tocchet coming. I wasn't sure if he's the right coach for them, but it's just like maybe he's just going to be a more strategic John Tortorella. But how do you see the young defensemen like Jamie Drysdale and center and Trevor Zegras fitting into Rick Tocchett's style with what you've seen through the practices, the system? Yeah. Do you think their styles of play are going to complement what Tocchet is trying to build? Because right now I know Lost Trucker's on, and she didn't like what she saw of Tocchet and his utilization of Pettersson, for example. Yeah. So what thought, do you think there'll be an adjustment period?
I think it is. This first month of the season is so tough. I'm not very happy already that Nikita Kurpekin is going to be sitting tomorrow night, against the Florida Panthers. So another young, a young prospect who had a very good camp, awesome preseason, gets the bench, and Jet Luchenko gets the bench too. I'm not happy about that in terms of I think one or the other should sit. I don't think both young prospects should sit in favor of a heavy veteran team. And that's something that Torts got crushed for, I think, in his first year. He leaned on his veterans. He wanted to see. This is sort of that's what Tocchet reminds me of, like Torts-esque. And you're starting to see that. Like, he's trying to figure out his first year as a Flyers coach. He wants to see who's going to work, who's not, who's part of the solution, who's not part of the solution. Danny Briere has full confidence in him. Keith Jones has full confidence in him. they're giving him the reins to make any decision he wants. And with that being said, that's why Luchenko and Grebekin are going to be sitting tomorrow. And that's a bit worrisome in my eyes. Like Emil Andre was cut. I think the best player should play regardless of size. I don't think the Flyers should handpick or cherry pick size. So he was scratched from the gate. He wasn't going to make the team just because of his size anyway. Well, he's not going to get any taller. You know what I mean? He's around the age of 21. He's already at full growth, as is. So either you want him or you don't. And, again, the Flyers have missed the playoffs for the past 5 years. I don't think the Flyers have any right. That's one thing I'm going to go on record and say, and cherry pick, he doesn't have the size, I'm not going to play him. I want guys with size. I want Adam Yinning, he changed his name again from Jinning to Yinning now. Okay. I just want to be clarified, So, and Noah Jolson, there was a press conference a few days ago, and practically Rick Tocchet said, I'm familiar with Noah Jolson. Well, when he made that comment, that sort of meant like he was making the club the moment that they signed him, and I don't think that's how the Flyers should operate. Now, I like Tocchet. I think he's a great communicator. He has an open door policy. Some of the players have gone to him in that open door and have had conversations, much like Trevor Zegras has talked to him, and stuff. And he has a very good relationship right now with Trevor Zegras. But I do think that with Zegras in particular, it's going to be a lover's quarrel. With that, the first month of the season, I think he's going to come out on fire. But then he's going to hit a wall. You know what I mean? And I want to see how Zegras handles it. I want to see how Tocchet handles it, because he's going to hit a wall. He's not used to playing down the middle again. And like I've been saying, the first month of the season is a playoff team after playoff team after playoff team from last year, playoff team after, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Look, they finished against the defending champs in 3 or 4 games, you know what I mean, the first 3 games of the season, but it's going to be interesting. And you're right. I'm a little worried about that. But I think that one person that I think could steer the whole ship, and that's Travis Konechny. He's been here. He's a veteran. Sean Couturier. Coots apparently really likes Tocchet. They have a good relationship. I think the moment Torts lost the room a bit was when he benched Sean Couturier, as captain. Like, there wasn't no conversation. He came in and saw his name not on the board. You know what I mean? And in some way, you don't treat the captain like that. You know what I mean? Like, a captain should know, a day or two in advance, because it's a bit embarrassing. He's got to go in front of the whole team. You're the captain. You're supposed to be filtering fires in the locker room, if that may be, trying to steer the heads, trying to clear heads of players, trying to keep them focused at the task at hand. And here you are scratched, and you didn't even know it. You know what I mean? We've come to find out that he didn't know it. So that, I think, was a bit shady of John Tortorella. I think that Torts spoke very highly of the team. He kept everything. He put the blame on himself to deflect attention from the team, which was great. I see Tocchet being the same way. But I think that Tocchet's a better communicator in terms of being more patient with some of the players. Now, how long will this honeymoon last? I'm not so sure. It depends on winning. Winning cures habits. Winning changes the overall complexion of the locker room, changes the overall landscape of the team. The Flyers have to start freaking winning here. And I think if they do that under Rick Tocchet, I think it would be, the city of Philadelphia obviously already loves Tocchet because he's in the rafters, for the team. You know what I mean? He's in the Flyers Hall of Fame and stuff. He was a hell of a guy. Great personality. He just gelled well with the city of Philadelphia. And I wish him nothing but the best in the city of Philly. So this first month if it wasn't for this first month of the season, I would say I'd be more keen on the Flyers. But this first month is just so brutal. The schedule makers did them no justice at all. And for a team that's trying to right the ship, you're not getting off to a good start when you're missing Cam York already, and who I think is a hell of a defenseman. He's a young defenseman. I think he was going to break out. And he mentioned Jamie Drysdale. Drysdale is going to flourish under Rick Taka's system. He's going to finish with 55 points this year. That's my prediction for Jamie. I am so high on Jamie Drysdale. He's finally healthy. Called it last year that he wouldn't get healthy. You wouldn't start to see Jamie Drysdale until about January, February-ish, just because he had hernia surgeries. The Flyers have a horrible history with hernia surgeries. Claude Giroux missed he wasn't himself for half the year. Shane Gotthespierre, when he was here, had the same surgery, didn't do well. Kevin Hayes had many cleanouts and stuff, and stuff. And now you have Jamie Drysdale, who had the same procedure done last year, half the year or more, he played like crap. And that was to be expected, though, because of the nature of the injury. But he was finally healthy this year. He had a different offseason. I don't recall him, even when he was drafted, that he was this healthy. I'm serious about this. That Jamie Drysdale is going to break out, but his regular partner is in influx right now because Cam York is injured, and he's missing about a week, of the season possibly. You know what I mean? So, that's a big loss for a team that's trying to right the ship, who already has a horrible back end. That bottom pairing is terrible. It's absolutely brutal. I'm just going to call a spade here. I like Adam Yenning, but the bottom pairing needs help, and the Flyers are certainly looking for that. They are. Elliot Friedman reported, and he's absolutely correct. The Flyers are looking for defensemen. Now, I don't think it's going to be anything earth-shattering like Bowen Byram right now. Why would Buffalo trade Bowen Byram when they're trying to right their own ship? Year after year, people are saying, oh, watch out for Buffalo. They're ready to take the next step. But yet, let's go trade one of our best defensemen, arguably their best defenseman, right? Doesn't make sense right now, right? I think they want to see by the trade deadline where they're at. Bowen Byram's locked up for 2 years with them. He just signed that contract, in the offseason. You know what I mean? So I think that'll be maybe a trade deadline, type of deal. Maybe they are having talks about Bowen Byram and starting to get it running, but nothing obviously is imminent. Trades take time. Maybe this one will take, hey, if you guys aren't there at the trade deadline, how about we revisit these conversations? You know what I mean? These are conversations that I'm sure Danny Briere is having, and stuff, and already, putting steeds in his head, the GM's head. Hey, I'm interested, but they are looking, and they have to, because I'm telling you, the Flyers have to get off to a good start. They are not a team that can come back like they were with the Claude Giroux era on teams, okay, let's play bad for the first 10 games and then make a run, and then play bad and then go on another run, and then play bad and go on another run, a banger at the end of the season. You know what I mean? They just don't have that talent right now to do that. They have a lot of question marks at the goaltending position, the defense in particular. So we'll have to see. But they are searching for a defenseman for sure.
Awesome. Well, so that brings up quite a few things just to kind of go into it. And one team that I think that maybe Briere may look into for that comment is Anaheim, because they're kind of loaded with a lot of defensemen, especially with signing recently Jackson Lacombe. They got Nichukov. I know Trouba is in a final year, as is Gudas, I think. So they're going to have to replace some of those guys. But we talk about Flyers identity, and people always know that you guys are the Broad Street Bullies. It's pretty evident. That's your historical identity. And I know that Tocchet was brought in, and you're trying to set a new tone, hard to play against, right?
Yeah.
He's known himself as playing with grit and leadership. He was a battler. He was like, how many penalty minutes did that guy rack up? Over 800 plus. Like, you could not get him away from a fight. But what is this Flyers identity, and how does he mold people into that role, including players like Zegras? Because people are talking about like, Lost Trucker says, hopefully Tocchet doesn't continually change Zegras cinematic like he did with Pettersson. So your thoughts on this new identity for the Flyers and what they want to be this year and for years to come?
I think that they want to become not a Broad Street Bully like they were in the past. I don't think that, but although D'Lo will be in the lineup tomorrow with Garnet Hathaway, but that's just in case Florida have 450 penalty minutes, in one of the preseason games. So I think Tocchet, is a little worrisome. Hey, we got some younger guys, some smaller guys like Zegras and Mitchkov and stuff. and he wants to make sure that they're protected, and stuff like that. So I don't think that it's the Broad Street bully of years past. I think that he wants them to become a tough team to play against in a sense of board battling. I think he's more of a board battle guy. He wants to battle. He wants them to win pucks along the boards. He wants them to win pucks down low. He wants them to be fierce in the middle, and something that parameter has been missing from the Flyers for God knows how many years. You know what I mean? They haven't seen that since Scott Hartnell has left. Scott Hartnell was the king of propping himself in the middle and screening goaltenders and doing everything in his power, hitting he's probably more on the ice than skating, but but he was very good down the middle. And I think that is one structure that Tocchet has honed in on. So I think that they're going to be a gritty team. I think that he wants them to be a tough team to play against, but not a brawling team. Does that make sense? I think he wants them to be a little more reserved, not taking as many penalties, because I think that he knows the Flyers cannot take penalties because I don't think they're good enough, to continue to kill against the best, especially the first month of this season. You're playing against teams that flourish with the power play. Carolina Hurricanes, the Florida Panthers, are a gritty team. And look, man, they'll score pucks off their heads if they could, like teams like that they're playing, so early in the season, the Bostons, and stuff like that, who are always tough to play against, they had a fluke year last year, whatever happened, you know what I mean? But, but that's the style team that I see them becoming. I see them becoming more of a winning along the boards, more taking over the middle. You're going to see more defensemen activated this year than ever before. I think that he's giving them full reins to pinch. They're going to need their defensemen. He knows that. They're going to need offensive production from their defensemen. That's good. That's going to drive this team because, again, they're not good enough, on some of those lines. You know what I mean? So, but I look for a Tyson Forster to really hone in here and take over a player, Noah Cates, who's a very good board battler, very good down low. Mitchkov, good down low, and stuff. And I think that he wants people to park in front of the net and start screening some goaltenders here. I think you're going to start seeing that a lot more this season than you have in years past, say, under Torts.
Okay, so Rick Tocchet, you talked about this, that he mentioned about bringing back knowledge. That was something you wrote about, and that he's rebuilding that connection to the Flyers' legacy, okay? Now, have you seen a consistency between training camp and preseason that leads it? I mean, obviously, we already are seeing Jed is not starting, and we talked about early on here, you mentioned about, like the young guys not getting in right away, or the newbies, right?
Yeah.
But overall, does it seem like in his roster decisions, his press into, like the tone reinforces that pitch that he's bringing back knowledge?
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to reinforce, and I think that the players are really buying into that right now, But he's going to have to prove it here, like Tocchet himself. So the players are going to buy in. That they've bought into his system. They really have. I'll admit that. The players are really happy. They're fresh. They're talking. They're lively right now, and stuff like that. So realize really the knowledge and that he's trying to bring from his playing days, he's trying to revert, as a coach, but trying to be a little more refined than what he was as a player. He made his mistakes as a player. He knows that's not the style of game anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons why Danny Briere and Keith Jones brought him in, is because I think that the Flyers are starting to go on their rails there. And now you bring in a Tocchet who could sort of rein them back and be like, hey, this isn't the style of play anymore. We got to get to become a little more finesse team, but better at skating, honing in on skating. John Tortorella was very good for that, just the wrong messages, and stuff. But yeah, I do see, the players, buying into him already in terms of what he's done, in terms of his knowledge of the game, his knowledge as a player, taking his mistakes that he made in Vancouver and trying to apply it to the Flyers. I don't think that I think that in a good way, with what happened with Elias Peterson, maybe that doesn't happen here in the city of Philadelphia. Maybe he realizes what a big mistake that was. You get into it with your star player.
Yeah.
Players look up to you, the stars. Like I said, winning cures habits. Elias Peterson wants to win. So if I'm a younger player, I'm looking at Elias. If he's flying, I'm flying. If he's doing good, I'm doing good. And I think that Taka realizes that he made some mistakes, and one player that I think, to circle back to that, one player he did get along well with is Quinn Hughes. I wouldn't be surprised to see if Quinn Hughes is in an orange and black uniform, maybe by the trade deadline or something of that nature. I'm serious about this. Like, he is a big advocate for Quinn Hughes, and Hughes has been on record. He's trying to come play closer to his brother. He wants to be closer to his family and stuff. I would not be surprised if the Flyers make a run at Quinn Hughes.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Bold prediction here. Sorry.
Well,
go ahead.
he said he wouldn't be surprised.
No. Actually, you know what? I'll go on record. I think the Flyers will obtain Quinn Hughes at some point, whether it's going to be at the trade deadline or in the offseason. I really think that he's gonna be a Flyer. I'll go on record and say that's my belief.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Even our comments section are saying Lost says, "Wow."
They need it. You figure that's something that the Flyers are lacking. They lack a 1A. Danny Briere, listen, he's already said this team has to improve. It's not that they have to make the playoffs, but they can't be as bad as they were the past 2 to 3 years. Yeah. He wants improvement. One way to make improvement, bring in a 1A defenseman, and that's something that the Flyers lack. Travis Sanheim is a 1A, 1B. At times he's a 1A, other times he's a 1B. You know what I mean? But Quinn Hughes is steady. The Flyers need a 1A. And that's it.
I will say this, Jamie. I know, Pawel, we'll let you end off here with the last question. But, Jamie, I actually look at Cale Makar very much in a Bobby Orr. Different player, but he brings the same thing to the team. And Quinn Hughes reminds me of Ray Bork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? He plays a very good two-way game.
But listen. That's something the Flyers need, and I think they know it, and I think Danny Briere knows it. If you can't get the goaltender you have right now, you know what I mean, that you want or whatever, you have to secure that goaltender, right? One way to secure that goaltender, good defense. And right now, looking at the overall makeup of the Flyers defense, especially with the Cam York injury, take York off that team like they are now, and you're like, holy hell. It's put up with duct tape. Like it's a Band-Aid, you know what I mean? Man, I got a scratch, but now, man, now I need stitches, So like that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at the Flyers defense. And I'm telling you, if they had Quinn Hughes here, maybe the York injury doesn't look as bad, you know what I mean? Because you have Quinn Hughes, So I firmly believe Danny Briere. I'm fully confident in him. He knows what this team lacks. Keith Jones knows what this team lacks. And the one thing the Flyers will have is money, assets. They have tons of assets, right? They will have plenty of cap space to obtain. They could throw any amount of money at Quinn Hughes. I'm telling you, the writing is on the wall for a Quinn Hughes Tocchet reunion.
Woo!
Excellent. So we're going to finish off one question. I don't know if Evan has anything yet to finish off. And I'm going to go a little bit off the board, even though we did have a bit of a script. But I wanted to ask about prospects because Evan has his top 15. If you watched last season, he had Porter Martone quite up high. And I wanted to get your thoughts on Porter Martone so far because I've watched some highlights. He's gotten to some scraps. He looks like a Flyers. Like, that's his identity. So I wanted to know your thoughts on them picking him at the draft this season and what you project him to go like this year if he would play 9 games, if not more, or what his ceiling is potentially for the coming years if he gets into the lineup.
I see him as a first line type of guy. That's how high I am on Porter Martone. I'm going to be honest. I was sort of shocked and surprised he was there. At 6, I thought he was off board. So I didn't even have him, in my, any of my, thinking that Porter Martone. I really thought that he'd be off board. I couldn't believe that he was sitting there for the Flyers liking. And I was shocked. And then you learn on how much he was a Flyers fan. He has Flyers gear, and stuff like that. He was born to be a freaking Flyer, and that's what I see in Porter Martone. So with that being said, his style resonates. He's a guy that will take a hit to make the play. You want to lay me out, fine, but I'm going to sauce this pass in the middle here, and Connecting's going to get a tap-in goal. That's how it's going to get done. That's what he strikes me as. He's not shying away from physical contact. He doesn't shy away from that. He'll win puck battles. This guy will he'll put the team on his back, in order to win. He just wants to win. And that resonates with the city of Philadelphia, because the city of Philadelphia is built off of hard work. So he was meant to be a Flyer. Hard work leads to what? Winning ways. And that's what Porter Martone is. He's nothing but hard work. You see him shift after shift using his legs. He doesn't stop. He's a motor. I could not believe he was on board. I don't know what other teams, I'm not saying that they should have, I just couldn't believe that he was still on board at that point. So the Flyers got really lucky. They got lucky with Porter Martone. He's going to have a phenomenal year for Michigan State. He's playing with Shane Van Sage over there. Shane Van Sage is another Flyers prospect. I think they're going to bond and mesh pretty well, get to know each other. But I see Porter Martone with the orange and black next season, hands down. That is not a 9-game tryout. I see him signing his ELC. Danny Briere made that mistake with Cutter Gauthier. Cutter flat out said after he was drafted, in the first interview after his draft, and people could go look it up, he thought he was going to be one and done. And the moment that, in my eyes, why he didn't sign in Philly was because they wanted him to go back to school for his sophomore season. I think that killed it right there. The relationship, whatever they had, he wanted to become a Flyer, that season. Whereas they weren't contending. There was no need for him to rush his development. Go back, prove yourself. He didn't want to. I think he wanted to play in the NHL. He's flat out said in an interview he was going to be one and done. I think that was the bulk, the creme de la creme of him not signing in Philadelphia. It was because they elected him to go back. They didn't sign him to an ELC. You ELC him, he plays. I guarantee it. But that's here nor there. It's over. But I don't see them making the same mistake with Porter Martone. They'll ELC him at year's end, and he'll be a Flyer. I think he may even get some games, depending on how it goes, down the stretch, depending on how far Michigan State goes, and stuff. More or less like Alex Bump, with Western Michigan. They win the national championship. They send him to the Phantoms, and stuff. I could see Porter Martone playing for the Phantoms at some point.
Crazy stuff, Jamie, man. As always, guys, this is Jamie Vasco. He is a Flyers writer with Flyers Nitty Gritty, sports journalist out of Philadelphia. You make sure you get a chance. You can follow him on X. Now, what is your X account again? At
Jamie Vasco. So I want to say something. To make way for Porter Martone, you have to get rid of one player. The odd man out, in my opinion, is Owen Tippett.
Wow. Owen's good. I guess you got to, if you're going to let someone good go, you're going to get someone good back.
They have to. I mean, they have to make way for Porter Martone. That would be a clear indication on how they feel. But I don't think it's a trade is imminent with Owen Tippett. I'm not saying that by any means. But I can see at the deadline, depending on how the Flyers are, they're out of the playoff hunt or whatever. I can see them moving on from Owen Tippett and making way for Porter Martone. That would be a clear indication that they're trying to pave the way for Porter.
See, I was thinking they might want to push for Kempny at the end of the year. I don't know, but I think this is their last year of sticking with the status quo, and I start thinking you start seeing the trades and stuff moving in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be this trade deadline. I think it'll be starting in the summer, and then you're looking at years of.
I look at the Marc-Andre Fleury situation, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bobrovsky does not resign. He returns for a preseason contract.
Oh man!
Just for one more little bit where he had all started.
Yeah, we are throwing stuff out here tonight. I love it.
Oh man, that's like getting Ted Bamford going with his Steve Larmer Hall of Fame stuff.
Yes, yes. Go big or go home, and look at that beautiful jersey in the background there too.
It's gorgeous.
Oh man.
Awesome.
Well, Jamie, been awesome, man. We definitely appreciate you stopping by and taking the time out of your schedule.
Yeah,
and late.
appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on with your dedicated following. You guys are awesome, man. Check them out on Instagram too. They're all over Instagram. They are popping.
All right, man. Give the family all your love and get back to the Cheers.
Take care. Thanks a lot.
Headliner, brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show. Quinn Hughes. You heard it. Quinn Hughes.
Bold prediction. Well, you can't say we don't challenge the status quo here on the show. So that's a bold prediction. And if it does happen, we're going to zone right back to this episode and say this has happened.
You know what I didn't do? You know what I didn't do for this year? I should have went back. I talked to him and I gave a prediction on what I thought Mishkov would do. I got to go back and see last year's podcast at the beginning of the year. I'm really curious. I think he hit really close to what I had called. I think he was modest. I think he said like 50 points, 52 points, and I think I hit around 65 or 67. So we'll see. It's
he's dialed in with the team. He knows what's up. There's so many more questions we could have got into with him. There's so much happening on the Flyers. And again, I don't think that they're competing for a playoff spot. I don't even know if they'll compete for a wild card spot. And I love the Flyers, but I really think they're going to struggle this year a little bit, especially in net. They've really they need to solidify the back end there. But I think, we'll see how the seasons go, and we'll always have Jamie come back on and kind of share his thoughts. So did you want to get around the rink or by the numbers?
No, let's get into I think we need to have a little bit of NHL discussion. We just got off with Jamie. Everyone's thinking NHL questions. So why don't we go ahead, guys, and I'll run by the numbers for you. Here we go. Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
By the numbers.
All right. Well, we've had a very, very busy time in the NHL with a lot of contracts being signed up, and the class of 2026 UFAs is slowly dwindling down. We'll get into all the signings that have recently happened, but it sounds like the next salary cap spike could be potentially even as high as 104 to 107 now is being reported by Elliot Friedman for next year, which is incredible. And then the following year could be up to 113.5, and that's a lower conservative estimate that they're putting forward. The reason being is because a lot of teams, organizations like Buffalo, like Winnipeg, are struggling to potentially meet up that to that amount of dollar amount, as well as because it is gate revenue driven, 50-50, but also the fact that they sometimes have internal budgets, Evan, and so they may not want to spend to the cap like the Rangers, like the Maple Leafs, like the Oilers, right? So there's a lot of questions happening about what it's going to look like. What this does show you, and where give credit where credit is due, is Gary Bettman has made the league very healthy. Now, there's been a lot gone right. We got out of COVID. Escrow was paid off. There's a new TV deal. ESPN got it in. And I know we talked about it last week. Like, it didn't really bother me, right? Like what people say about the game. I like it, to each his own. But really, you got the deal. Money's coming in. Players are making bank. You look at Kaprizov. You look at some others. And it's good. I think this is good for the game. And it's only going to continue to grow. Now, it's not growing at the level of the NFL, MLB, some of the other sports. But, it's coming along. Any thoughts there?
Ready, baby, because it's coming. And it's coming. And because you're bringing up those numbers, let's get into, to finish off this piece here, let's get into the numbers of the actual contracts that just came out, right? So we know about that Eichel just signed. We know today Connor signed. That's Kyle Connor. Wallman just a few days ago. Ekholm signed earlier. But let's go back. We haven't had a chance to talk about this. And how can you not talk about it? I know we're from Western Canada, out in Alberta, where McDavid is. We're not talking about it because of that. We're talking about it because of that contract that he signed. He signed. Yeah. And I like to talk around everyone kind of speculation on this, but I want to get your take, and then I'll finish off a take on this McDavid contract. 2 years, $12.5 million. a year. In other words, he didn't take a pay raise. There was no negotiation, and he said, I think it's a fair deal. You go ahead, comment, man.
Fair deal. I mean, I really look at it as, he believes in this team and he put his money where his mouth is. He believes that the team needs to be competitive, so he took the exact same amount. It is definitely a decrease. It was a shock. I was shocked when I saw the number. I think the whole hockey world was shocked. People said, "Oh, are you kidding me? Is this like a troll account? Like, what is this? Is this a spam, a bot? Like, what's going on there?" But really what it came down to is the fact that he believes in this team. It allows them to sign Ekholm to long-term for 3 years by $4 million. It allows them to sign Wallman to 7x7, which I had arguments online with strangers about how he's overpaid and stuff. It's like, agree to disagree. He's playing top 4 minutes. He came into a situation, and a full healthy Wallman will be beneficial to the Edmonton Oilers. And if you're looking at the going rate for defensemen, I mean, that's what it is. You look at Luke Hughes, like we talked about last week. So I was very impressed, and I think it's already been said many, many times before. He owes Edmonton nothing if nothing comes of it. He gave him the best chance to win. This is now on Bowman, Jackson, and the Oilers management to build a good team around him to win the cup. Hopefully multiple, but at least one. You get one.
If it's one, he's going to stick around, and he's going to want to go for multiple if they'll build around him, and it'll be a 7-year deal. And he's going to make his 21 million at that time, or 22. But it's going to be a different game, and they can prepare 3 years in advance around it. What I don't like is the narrative, and I'm so tired of this. The narrative of a bunch of people in the mainstream media, and I'm not going to call out the names, but you guys all follow them. They have like up to 1 million followers. And they come up with pure speculation. They've done it with Crosby. They've been doing it with McDavid and the Toronto narrative. Like, there's some people, they're just clickbaiting. You have no clue. You are guessing, and your guesses are not even good. I mean, that's essentially what you're dealing with, right? And so can I just say, I want to give a big applause to Connor McDavid for taking, I think, the biggest hometown discount in history, considering he's the best player. All right,
I agree with you.
Cool.
But let's talk about even Jack Eichel with Vegas. I mean, $13.58 million. I think he was looking more comparable to Draisaitl and what he got. It starts next year, but Eichel has a cup. He's still a top 10 player, if not center in the league. Like, you can't discount what he's done. He's going to be playing with Marner this year. It's one of the teams that's being considered as a cup contender. Vegas did it right. Now, this comes after Alex Pietrangelo indicated that he will not play next year, and that was confirmed both by the NHL and NHLPM, along with the Vegas organization. It could be the end for him. I kind of applaud him because I kind of scoffed at him when he opted out for playing for the Four Nations last season for Team Canada, because I was like, come on, like, you're representing your country. I understand now. He was going through a lot. And so clearly he wanted to see if he can get a chance to perform in the playoffs, which they lost, unfortunately, to Edmonton. But he still wanted to be able to, be healthy enough. And if he played in Four Nations, I wouldn't be surprised if he got injured and would have been out more long-term, if not damaged more during that tournament.
I think Eichel does not get his due. He is a way better two-way forward than I put him there with Crosby on his two-way game. The year they won the cup, they beat Edmonton. And when they beat Edmonton, it's because he was the one shadowing. It was literally like, someone like Esa Tikkanen back in the 80s, shadowing the best centers on the other team and the star players. He was going away from his offense, but yet still produced at a high rate during that year. And let's just face it, McDavid finds ways to get around players that eventually lock him out. But the deal that I was actually, it seemed high, and then I thought about it. It's kind of like the Kaprizov in Minnesota. It's not that bad. Minnesota's a bad place to go, but it is out it's a cold area. It's out and that is Kyle Connor. They seem to get Mark Scheifele, Connor Hellebuck, you name it, Adam Lowry. They keep these players And that shows a lot. Chevy is a good GM, and I appreciate what he's doing. In my opinion, probably $1 million, $1.5 million. But you know what? If he continues doing what he's doing, give him 2 years and the rest of that contract, because it's in a year end, yeah, right? So if he has only 1 year of the beginning of the contract that he's kind of getting a little overpaid, he's going to be doing very well in the last years to give that team a hometown discount. So I think Chevy's building something good, especially when it's harder to get people into Winnipeg over there. They draft. They're one of the best drafting teams. I mean, look what they're doing. I mean, it's amazing. So I was very happy with that deal. Why don't we finish with one last thing? Because I know we don't have lots of time, lots of other stuff to cover.
Well, Lost Trucker says thinks Jets struggle to make the playoffs. The only thing I wanted to add to that, if I may quickly, before you get your thoughts.
Whoa, okay. Yeah. I thought she meant in the playoffs. But
struggle to make the playoffs. I don't think so. I think they make it. I think last year, was a peak year. But my only thing is that there's this narrative that people don't want to play in Winnipeg. People want to play if they believe in the culture, if they believe in the organization, and if you bring them up, you draft them, you develop them well, and you give them an opportunity to shine. It goes to show you that, a lot of players may not choose Winnipeg as their first destination, but it's not to say people and players won't play there and sign big time tickets. That's all.
Yeah, no, exactly, right around it. So, hey guys, well, that tonight is By the Numbers. Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
By the Numbers.
All right, why don't we cover let's take 5 minutes and cover a little bit of NHL news around some of the teams. I know you were talking about the cap earlier. I sent you some new info I was hoping that we could cover tonight. Not sure if you had the newest update there.
For sure.
Yeah, that was Florida Panthers stuff I was hoping that we can jump into.
Sure, let's get into it. Where do you want to get in on the Panthers?
Okay, so sure, I'll take the lead here. So on the Florida Panthers, this was really interesting. So Sportico comes up with the cost of, we were talking about how all these prices have just jumped. Think of it. The Florida Panthers franchise is worth $1.89 billion. So $1,890,000,000. It's almost worth $2 billion. That is amazing. It's a 51% increase in 1 year, the largest of any NHL franchise. And they were ranked 17th overall the previous year. So I found that kind of interesting. Anyway, that was just something that I found, kind of a piece that was different. But let me talk about something else around there and get your thought before we go to maybe talk a little bit about Neil and his retirement and banner stuff in Ottawa. But that is, what's with this no apology signs? You and I talked about this, and people are like, we love this attitude. It's the attitude era. And this continues to make me sick. I don't want my grandchildren seeing the franchise. I'm looking at these guys with disdain. Wrong attitude. I don't want kids seeing that. I was brought up during the 80s as in Edmonton Sox, Calgary Sox, and mean. I was a Flames fan as a teenager. Came up to Northlands Coliseum. And now, granted, I probably deserved it because I had a rebel flag, a Southern rebel flag from the old General Lee car, which meant if the South would have won, we'd had it made. The song by Hank Williams Jr. Didn't really understand the Civil War piece, if I can be honest with you, as a teen. But someone saw it. They hated Calgary so much, and they took my head and smashed it into one of the columns way up high in the nosebleed. It was that's the way we thought back then. I thought we were getting better, not so barbaric. And to act like with attitude, I'm disdained by it. I think it looks terrible. I know some people with kids, they say, oh, if I knew about that, I wouldn't let my kids watch. Now, they don't watch hockey anyway. I know, don't feel always the same. What's your take on this? I'm guessing you think that you love the attitude.
Yeah. Don't apologize. Play your game. It works. It gets butts in seats, as we've talked about before. It excites the fan. There's a good rivalry, not only with other teams, but predominantly we've seen in the preseason with Tampa Bay and what's been going on. They have the rings there, and they looked really nice. Although it was weird that for those some of the rings that the players got for the Florida Panthers had 2 cups,
They're all 2 cups.
Yeah, but like Brad Marchand didn't win 2 cups; he just won 1. So it's kind of weird that he got 2 of them on it, right? Like, kind of bizarre.
Mickey Mouse. This is a Mickey Mouse organization. That's all I can say, man. You don't give back-to-back cup. Focus on that. I mean, like, who are you? Like, this is ridiculous. Okay, did I like the team? I like the team, and I didn't even mind how they played, even playing on the edge, but I didn't like them off the ice, man, and I don't like the attitude. And
that's fair.
I don't think that
you guys can let us know your thoughts. Did you like the Panthers antics? Did you like how they conducted themselves or not?
All right.
I will say one thing before you get to the next topic. I was able to check out the Amazon Face Off series. Really good. I do recommend it if you're a big hockey fan. There's a lot of good storylines there. A great sneak peek into behind the scenes of the world of hockey players and how they live, how they train, how they prepare, and mentally how they get themselves ready. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. It's a really good series.
I've been wanting to talk about this actually for 3 weeks, but we just had so much on the go. And so I just wanted to quickly mention, why would the Ottawa Senators raise Chris Neal's number as a banner to the rafters? Like, could you imagine if every team raised a Chris Neal type player? I mean, like, is it because you just don't feel you've had enough players stay? I like the Ottawa Senators as a general average team, like in the middle of the pack. But I'm just like kind of wondering, Steve Staios, like where are you going with this? Is it because he's a Steve Staios kind of player, rugged and gets in there and love the people, the community? But you don't go Hall of Fame or banners in the ceiling. All I can tell you is that franchise is going to have a lot of banners up soon, and none of them might be Hall of Famers. Ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, that was like a rant in the night.
Lost Trucker talks about Chris Neal. He was a right winger who played for the organization for several years on and off in the early 2000s. How many games? He finished with over 1,026 games, right? He was drafted in the 6th round by them at 161 in the 1998 draft. So
how many points did he have too?
How many points? He was at 112 goals and 138 assists for 250 points and 2,522 penalty minutes.
He was a penalty minute. He was a plugger. He was a 3rd, 4th line guy and filled out on the 4th line. And Lost Trucker's asking who's Chris Neal, but I wonder if Chris. Oh, that might have been the time you were off not watching hockey for a while. But hey, guys, just a quick reminder, just with everything, to feel free to go back if you joined us a little bit later, especially you guys on X. And there's a lot of you watching that are connecting right now. You're not able to comment. I've sent some notes in. I'm asking them to build a comment section so that you guys can start getting involved as well too. But go back, Jamie Baskow, Flyers Nitty Gritty. He's the sports journalist and writer for the Flyers, as well as the Phantoms, their American Hockey League team. But also, just remember to follow us, Facebook. Apparently, we do a lot on Instagram too. I think it's because of it's our Facebook connection to Instagram is what it is. And as well as on X and our YouTube channel, which keeps our library. Plus, if you subscribe, it goes right to our website, twoguysinhockey.com. But listen, why don't we call it a wrap on here? Let's give you a couple things just around the rink here today, and then we'll kind of call it. Basically, I think let's just call it quits for the night. I won't go with the hockey.
I got one thing for you because you can't just throw. I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Well, let's go with the final thought.
Like Shane Bieber's throwing tonight for the Yankees.
What's that?
Like Shane Bieber's throwing for the Yankees tonight. I'm throwing you a curveball. Okay.
Oh boy. What's the
curve? An hour after?
Well, yeah, we've already wasted time, so go into it.
No, get into around
No,
the ring.
no. Just go ahead. Give me
No.
the curveball. Let's do it. No, you
No,
got
no,
me.
no. You set this up.
I can't think about somewhere else in the world when I got a curveball coming during the American League playoffs. Come on. What do we got?
Oh, and we got somebody commenting, "Go Jays, go 5-1." See, there you go. People are tuning in. They're excited.
Hey,
they know what's going on.
Wanderer. Hey, great to actually have you. So Wanderer also follows on X. We chat back and forth sometimes. Thanks for calling me out sometimes too. It's perfectly fine. It's all fun in hockey.
God, I'm not the only one.
There we go.
We're
Okay,
gonna get into
what's a good
around
one?
the ring.
What's a Guys, Flow Hockey is your source. So all things, all leagues. So the other night, I was trying to follow on Flow Hockey and look at which game I was picking. Literally live, there was 42 games live at the same time on Flow Hockey. I couldn't decide which way to go. And I actually saw earlier there that, hey, Kyle, we're going to be checking out the games in just a bit. We're coming off air in just a couple minutes. But anyway, I saw that, Zill, you said you picked up your Flow Hockey, got your Victory Plus. And by the way, Victory Plus now, not that I'm trying to advertise for him, but a lot of you guys like Frank Saravelli. He's got Frankly Speaking now put on over there. So okay, guys, let's go ahead and let's talk just a couple things when we're talking around the rink. We want to cover a couple different pieces. So why don't we do it this way? I'll start up. The WHL, there is a American kid. His name is J.P. Hurlbert of the Kamloops Blazers. 5 games in. Pawel, 14 points. 14 points, 17-year-old kid. Already, he's going to the University of Michigan. He's already set up for next season. I mean, this kid, they were excited about bringing him in, but they're going to get a single year out of him. That's what's absolutely crazy. So keep your eyes open for J.P. Hurlbert, and he is available in the draft this year. And then there's a couple pieces we're just going to be quick here tonight, and I'll come to other stuff next week. But you know how the Oilers and the Panthers and the Avalanche, they trade a lot of picks away to keep their teams competitive, or Dallas, right? Well, in the queue, there's a guy who's 20-year-old Justin LaRose. I expect to see him invited to more development camps. He was at the Montreal Canadiens a year and a half ago. This kid is lighting it up early. 6 games, he's got 17 points. It's his come-out season, it seems. He had 1 year that was good a year and a half ago. Last year was okay. But those are the type of players they're going to look for, is what's going to end up happening. And then another guy, he's in the United States Hockey League in Youngstown, is Malachi McKinnon. Malachi McKinnon. What a name. That guy sounds like a superstar already now. There's a 3-way tie for the lead right now. He actually played. I saw him play. He was with the Sherwood Park Crusaders last year in the BCHL. He's moved over. He was USHL for a few games, came to BCHL last year, has moved back to the USHL. So I expect a good season out of him this year. And then a name that I want you guys to pay attention to is Oscar Lindberg. I don't think anyone's going to try and sign him. He is leading right now, 16 points in 9 games in the SHL. That's the Swedish Hockey League. Interesting enough, he played for the Rangers, had some time in Vegas. He wrapped up his time. Oscar Lindberg. But at 33 years old, he's probably wrapping up his final years and just playing for the fun. But it's so good to see him on top of the world. So the rest of it, I just want to make one last comment before we wrap up around the rink. And that'll kind of be my highlight with anything we need to go out. But if you guys remember, I think it was our 3rd season when we brought Jamie on, we also had a former first round. Well, he was was he first overall in the Ontario Hockey League? He was drafted, and then later in the first round with the Edmonton Oilers, and that was Robbie Schremp. So before there was the Michigan, it was called the lacrosse move. So all you guys say the Michigan, there was no such thing as the Michigan, and Robbie Schremp is one of the very first to actually perform that type of move, and it was called the lacrosse move. It wasn't called the Michigan because nobody in Michigan had done the Michigan. But Robbie Schremp, so I've had some conversation. This is really cool. I don't know if we're going to be able to get him on because he's quite busy, but I've been trying to reach out back and forth to him and see about a time. But Robbie Shrimp is having a movie made about him. So it's going to be a cinematic film that comes out, and I believe it's being called The Ice. And so it's where his whole life comes. It's basically referring to his whole life comes down to one shot. I'm not sure really what that means exactly, but it's going to be quite the season. And we didn't even talk to Jamie about this, Pawel. But there is going to be a movie, and I think we talked about this last week, of Pelle Lindbergh, the great Pelle Lindbergh, who died in a tragic car accident in the summer of 1985. Bernie Perrant, just before he passed, he was actually a guest appearance and was on a movie that's going to be coming out shortly here. So I'll actually get the quote and throw it up on our Facebook and our X and our Instagram accounts here for you guys. But there's going to be some good movies coming out, which I'm looking forward to. Cuddle up with the wife and watch a hockey movie.
And that has been Around the Rink. All right, I'll get to my final thought, but it's the Wanderer says, shout out to Evan, always very knowledgeable and responsive on X. Cheers. I think you got the wrong Evan. Maybe have Evan Rodriguez from the Florida Panthers. but sure.
Apologies. No apologies, he would say.
So since Evan is so knowledgeable, and since we didn't do this last week and we did start the season, I wanted to know, Evan, quickly off the top of your head, he did not plan for this, your top 8 teams making it to the postseason from the East and the West. Start naming them off. We'll start in the East.
Okay, start in the East. You have
8 teams that make the playoffs.
8 teams that make just 8 teams that make it, not the top 4?
Yeah, no, 8 teams. No. The 8 teams that make the playoffs postseason.
In the East. Oh my God! I thought we just covered this last week. We went over all this.
We just went through the teams potentially, but I want to know your exact.
I don't even remember the teams that I said. Okay, so I talked about Bay is going to be a beast this year. I believe that Montreal is going to have a really good season. So I'm going to take Tampa, Montreal, and Toronto. As long as Tampa and Toronto will play each other first round. And then I'm actually going to take, I think this is going to be another good year for the Washington Capitals. So is that good? Do you need more? I'm not impressed with Ottawa.
That's 5, but sure. Okay. Well, let's go. Carolina doesn't count. New Jersey doesn't count.
Carolina and New Jersey. Yeah, those are my. Sure. I'll throw Ottawa in there though. Yeah, just
okay. That's your 8. And what about the West? Quickly.
Okay, yeah. So I see the top teams being Vegas and Edmonton, and then I think you're talking about Dallas and Winnipeg and Colorado. I think those are basically your top 5, and then I think they're going to round out with St. Louis. St. Louis and oh boy, I think everybody else is going to be. They're not contenders though, so I don't even think about them.
No Vancouver, no Calgary, no Utah Mammoth, no Minnesota Wild.
The Minnesota Wild and Nashville, those 2 teams. I think Nashville will have a comeback season.
You got one more team. Okay.
Oh, okay. You know, I'll make them happy because I think Pettersson's going to have a good season and Quinn Hughes. So we'll go with the Canucks to round it out at 8 as a wild card spot.
So just like Wanderer said, he is knowledgeable and responsive on X as well as on the podcast. Guys, this has been our show. Lost Trucker is saying Oilers, Vegas, Fan, Colorado, Minnesota, Dallas, St. Louis, and Utah, as well as on the East, Carolina, Washington, New Jersey, Florida, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and I don't know what Onto is. Toronto or what?
Tampa Bay. No, on to
Tampa Bay.
It's because she's spelling from her phone and it's called spell auto wrong. That's what happens on phones. It happens to me too. So hey, at least Lost Trucker was quicker. I can't even count my numbers. So I pick Onto too. I pick Onto in the East.
We've had a pleasure showing up tonight and doing a podcast for you. Season 7, episode 5. See, now you got me all over the place. Season 7, episode 5. We appreciate Jamie Basco coming on the show. Go follow Flyers Nitty Gritty. It's been a great show again. We are back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We thank all our sponsors and partnerships. If you want to partner up with us, please reach out to us on our X at Revenev or myself at hockey_2. We are always talking, chatting, all things hockey online. Give us a follow on our YouTube page. It really helps us out. And our Facebook page where we're daily posting things from things around the NHL and all the world of hockey. All right, Evan, let's wrap it up.
Man. It's been a ring-a-ding-dong dandy in the famous words of Ed Whalen. So in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. We love you.